Moon prism power make up. Hello, friends, and welcome to Unlike Anime. This is a special episode where you might have guessed it's about Sailor Moon.
Small lady. No, Chibi. That's Chibi Moon. Small lady.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's about her as well. She's
Wait, is it Chibi Sailor Moon or is it Sailor Chibi Moon? I think it's Sailor Chibi Moon.
Sailor Chibi Moon.
I think that's how they say it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Sailor Chibi Moon.
So weird.
Super Sailor Chibi Moon. Yes, Sailor Moon Crystal has been an ongoing retelling of Sailor Moon, readapting the manga and sort of giving us the story at a quicker pace, not so sitcom-y as the original Sailor Moon anime was. But Tony's here.
Yeah, I'm the other voice.
And Tony and I think we're we're of course vaguely familiar with Sailor Moon. I watched a little bit of it growing up, and then in past decades, I've tried to like get into the original anime, and I've watched like 12 episodes or something. I just kind of fell off. But what's your history of Sailor Moon?
I mean, I'm familiar with the concept. I always kind of liked the concept. Was kind of interested in the concept, I guess. But I've only seen sporadic bits and pieces here and there over the last 20 years or something. I don't even know how long it's been.
Yeah.
Has it been out that long?
Yeah.
It has to have been, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, more than.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Manga probably started in the late 80s, I would guess, but
Oh, okay.
but yeah, definitely a 90s
Yeah.
90s thing.
Okay.
But yeah, so I don't know, we are providing this service. I don't know if it's wanted or needed, but we're two dudes who are going to weigh in on some Sailor Moon. The new movies just came out on Netflix last month in June, and they constitute the fourth arc or the fourth season of Sailor Moon Crystal.
And I didn't know that when I said, hey, we should watch the Sailor Moon movies because it's just called Sailor Moon Eternal.
Yes.
Parts 1 and 2.
Yeah. And I didn't know either, but did some research, and it's like, oh, this is a continuation of Sailor Moon Crystal. And I remember when Crystal came out, I think I watched the first couple episodes, and I was like, oh man, I've kind of what you were saying. I've always been intrigued by Sailor Moon, and always thought there's got to be something there. So I was like, all right, I'm willing. There's like 40 episodes to catch up, so I'm like, I'm willing to do that and then watch the movies. And Tony said, I'm not willing to do that, but I will watch the movies.
I'm not going to watch 3 seasons of a show just to watch a movie, or movies, I guess. I mean, yeah, they're movies, so they should be capable of standing alone.
You would think. And so that's what we're putting to the test today. Tony has just watched both movies.
Yep.
And I have, as I said, caught up on everything, including the movies. And so we talked a little bit before recording. Tony has some questions, and so we thought maybe it might be best for me to quickly run down the first 3 seasons and try to fill in some gaps for you.
Small lady. I'm gonna say that a lot. It's my favorite part of
of what you saw.
Yeah, of the movies.
It's pretty great.
And it's said a lot in the movies. I don't know, like, it'll be interesting to do a count to find out whether I say it more in this episode or if it was said more in the movies. I think I might win.
You might. You just might. And we were talking because I watched all of this dubbed in English, and you watched it in Japanese. But no matter which you choose, you'll still hear "small lady."
Yes, and many, many, many other things that are said in English in Japanese, Japanese dub, I guess you would call it.
Yes.
Yeah. They've got a list of probably about 30 or 40 words, English words that they repeat often. I mean, some of them I guess aren't English. I guess they'd be Latin, like Helios. Heard that about 50,000 times, I feel like.
You remember Helios then.
So you're going to start off talking about the series, and so
I'm going to try to be quick. I'm going to try not to drone on. I'm gonna try not to bore you and keep you. I'm just trying to crash course in Sailor Moon for
Well,
you.
you'd be doing better than the movies then.
I'll accept it. So the first season we'll start with is referred to as the Dark Kingdom arc,
Okay.
and it's when we're first introduced to Usagi Tsukino as our main character.
Didn't even know she had a last name
Yeah, Tsukino, which I looked up.
with a T at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, right? Moon.
What's that?
Tsuki?
Yeah, yes, Suki, yes.
Moon.
And so it literally means her first name means rabbit or bunny,
Mhm.
and Tsukino means of the moon.
Yep.
So rabbit of the moon,
Moon rabbit.
moon rabbit. And yeah, we start with her, and her character is she's. It always seemed like she was in high school to me, but no, it's. They enter high school, I think, at the end of the second season or something, but they're in middle school when they start.
I was pretty sure she was a middle schooler.
Yeah, they just look older to me, and considering her
Yeah.
things that happen later, just like, oh well, it's interesting. But yeah, her personality is she's kind of clumsy and she's lazy and she's not very academic. She's just kind of sleeps in a lot. It's a running gag where she's always running late for school.
Mm.
And but despite that, she yearns for excitement in her life. She yearns for romance, and she's a bit rose tinted, has her head in the clouds, sort of thing.
Mm.
And the inciting incident is on her way to school. She's running late, of course, and she runs into this cat, that black cat who has some band-aids on her forehead. And Usagi ends up removing them, and it reveals a crescent moon.
Mm-hmm.
And this sparks her becoming Sailor Moon. And we don't know much at first. It kind of reveals it slowly, but this is the essential premise. But in this arc, as all these arcs, there's some bad person who wants a crystal, the legendary silver crystal, something we hear talked about a lot.
Yep.
And that is that we learn that is what gives Usagi or Sailor Moon ultimately more and more power, and she's directly linked to. But as far as this first arc, we introduce Usagi, and then she becomes Sailor Moon in order to save her friends. We got. It's funny how the bad guys work, because they're always trying to find the crystal, and so they have to send their minions down to Earth, and they pose as humans. And so in the first episode, it's one of these minions who's has a jewelry shop, and they're like selling all this awesome jewelry like really cheap, but it's possessing all these people, and they're using them to try to find the crystal. And so it's always like, it's never like a direct approach. It's always sort of third party thing. But Sailor, and it kind of runs into that like creature of the week kind of thing. But yeah, Sailor Moon beats them, and in the process, she runs across Tuxedo Mask, or Tuxedo Common, who, in the same episode that she meets Tuxedo Mask, she runs into this guy named Mamoru on the street, and they have this back and forth, and he's kind of teasing her, and she doesn't like him at first, but when she sees Tuxedo Mask, like, and I wanted to actually specifically talk about what he wears, because on his face he's just wearing like a very thin sort of masquerade kind of mask around his eyes, and that's it. Like, you can see his face.
Very thin. It's probably like maybe 3/8 of an inch thickness. All the way. Yeah.
Like, not really concealing your face at all. And then he also wears, like, he has a tuxedo, of course, and it has, I don't know what it's called, but the undershirt, I don't know if it's not pleated, but it's like has those folds.
It's like frills on it or whatever.
Yeah. Like, not girly, but it's like, it's almost like something like classic Dracula would wear. And then he has like a pendant that almost looks like Dracul, like, I don't know, like he gives me some Dracula vibes. I don't know if anyone, like, just his outfit, not his personality or anything. But anyway, they run into each other, and after this, they set up each of the other Sailor Guardians that we learned. So there's Sailor Mars, which is Rei. She's the red fiery one that has like a temple and whatnot. And then there's Sailor Ami, who is or not Sailor Ami, Sailor Mercury. Her name's Ami, and she has water powers. And then we have Sailor Jupiter, who's my favorite.
She's got like leaves or something. She's my favorite too.
Oh, nice. Right on.
I was gonna do a thing where, like, okay, which one's your waifu? But I guess now we both know Jupiter is the best.
Nice.
Everyone knows
Jupiter rocks. She's great. That makes me happy because you had told me you had a favorite,
Oh yeah,
and I
yeah.
thought it was gonna be small lady.
No, I just like that line.
Okay.
No, well, we haven't even got to Chibi Moon yet. So,
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah.
but yeah, Jupiter is like leaf power or something, or what is it? Because she
Yeah, something
in
like
the movie she
that.
uses some sort of like oak based power.
Yeah, she's got like leaf power.
Yeah.
Makoto's her name, Sailor Jupiter, and then we meet Sailor Venus, who is also known as Sailor V. She's sort of in their world in Japan, a superhero of sorts.
Oh.
But it's kind of interesting. I guess there's a Sailor V manga that takes place before the events of Sailor Moon, where like Sailor V is a superhero. And that's like you see in the I don't know if they show this, but there's like these Sailor V like arcade machines.
I don't remember noticing.
Okay, yeah, I can't. I all this since I binged all this and all kind of some of it runs together. I'm not sure which season shows what, but their secret base ends up being beneath in the arcade beneath the Sailor V arcade games. But
Oh,
that
okay.
comes a little later in this arc. But essentially, what they learn is that all of these Sailor Guardians are reincarnated from the way past eons ago, and uh, they learn that Usagi was the princess of the moon.
Mm.
They were all the guardians were from the moon. It was like a moon kingdom, and so she was like next in line to become queen or whatever. And essentially, the story is that Tuxedo Mask Mamoru was a prince on Earth, and Usagi visited Earth, met him, they fell in love, but then their love couldn't be because Moon versus Earth. I don't know, just couldn't let it stand, and
Okay.
so it brought ruin to the Moon Kingdom.
Mm.
And so now, all these years later, in modern day Japan, they've been reincarnated, and it even goes so far as like the main one of the main villains, Queen Beryl, in this is also reincarnated. She had an unrequited love for Tuxedo Mask or Mamoru, but became jealous of Usagi, and she's the one that killed him
Mm.
way back when.
This is in season 1.
Yeah, this is all in
Okay.
season one. I don't know if all these reveals are in season one, but they're all around there. Um, and so in season one, they inevitably there's all these minions they're sending, and there's these four guys that are kind of you think they're just bad, but their names are all named after stones like jadeite, and
Mm.
there's I don't know, I didn't write them down. There's zoisite, and they always end in ite.
Not familiar with that one, but
Yeah.
okay.
Who knows? Maybe they're based on Japanese names for these things. But then we learn eventually, they're the bad guys. But then we learn, oh no, they were just being manipulated by Queen Beryl. But they are also reincarnated knights of Mamoru for Tuxedo Mask when he was a prince.
Ah.
And so eventually they go to the moon to fight Queen Beryl and fight who she's working for, which is Queen something or other. Oh, Queen Metalia. This is already taking too long, but I'm setting up the whole premise, so that's good. Anyway, they go to the moon, and it's what you expect. Essentially, it ends in Usagi being looks like she's going to be defeated, but then Mamoru shows up and they share a kiss, and she gains more power from that. There's something there, some magical connection they have, and
Mm-hmm.
and she beats Queen Metalia. Yeah, they eventually find the legendary silver crystal, which existed within Usagi. That's what happens. Is like her and Mamo share a kiss at an opportune time, and it brings forth the crystal out of Usagi.
Mm-hmm.
And so now she has the crystal, and she's able to kick butt, and she does so. And
Turns
yay!
into Super Crystal Sailor Moon Silver.
Well, not yet.
Oh,
She's still just Sailor Moon.
okay.
So that's the first season.
All right. Small lady.
So the end of season one, there's a sort of a cliffhanger that leads into season two. Season two is mostly about Chibiusa,
This I have questions on. So, yes,
small
continue.
lady.
Maybe you will answer all of my questions about Small Lady.
So small lady just shows up out of the air. Usagi and Mamo are kind of sharing a moment. They're probably about to kiss or something, some tender moment. And Usagi just shows up out of the blue and like crashes into them. And then she pulls a gun on Usagi.
Chibi.
Oh, Chibiusa. What did I say?
You just said Usagi.
Oh, Usagi. Yeah, sorry. Well, her name, that's where we get into trouble because her
Yeah.
name is also Usagi.
Right.
But yeah, they, to avoid confusion, like I just did, they call her Chibiusa or Small Lady.
Small lady.
And so Chibiusa, yeah, crashes into them, and then she ends up pulling a gun on Usagi, which that's how the first season ends. And
Chibiusa has a gun.
I know. And it was so out of place. And I laughed out loud just at the, ridiculousness of that. But then when season 2 picks up, it turns out it's just a toy. It's not really a gun.
Okay.
But from right off the bat, she's like, there's a wedge between Usagi and Shibiusa. Mamo they're like, oh, where are you from? And they're all confused and they're trying to piece together what happened. And then they don't learn it first, but then Mamo has like a immediate connection with her. And so he's like, helping her out and, giving her special attention. And Usagi, who's still a middle schooler, starts to get very jealous of this. And she doesn't like Chibiusa from the start.
So Chibiusa is supposed to be like 9?
Yeah,
8
little kid.
maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
And then she follows Usagi, or not, I don't know if she follows her home, but it's like she like somehow like meets Usagi's parents and they just like fall in love with her. And so they're like, you can live with us. And so Usagi's very upset about that. And
Makes sense.
that's the setup for this. The bad guys are from the Black Moon clan. This is the Black Moon arc. And what we learn is that Chibi Usagi has traveled back in time.
We just call her Small Lady.
Small Lady.
Small Lady.
Small Lady. Small Lady has traveled back in time from the 30th century, and evidently her current timeline is all messed up. The Black Moon clan they have this dark crystal, and they've taken over that land. The Earth and the Moon are both cast in shadow. And so she has traveled back to try to, do something about that. And she had, heard the tales of Sailor Moon and how great she was. And so she came back to this time specifically to get Sailor Moon's help. But at first she doesn't realize that Usagi is Sailor Moon, which doesn't really make sense once we learn more. But what we learn is that there's this whole thing where, just to build it up, there's all this drama between Usagi and Chibiusa, and stuff.
Yeah.
And like Mamo, paying close attention to her and making her jealous. But eventually, we're like, all right, we have to. Oh yeah, the Black Moon starts capturing the Sailor Guardians like one by one, and so they get Ami, they get Rei, and they get Makoto, our favorite.
I don't know them by their names.
Oh, okay,
but
so
it's fine. I understand.
Along. Yes. So they get those 3, and then they eventually capture Usagi, and so the rest of them, or maybe that's after they get there. But anyway, they're like, all right, we got to go, to the future, back to the future for you, Chibiusa. And they get there, and this is where they meet Sailor Pluto, who's one of the outer guardians. And she is in charge of the time. She, that's how you can time travel, is through her. And she has time keys. It's the whole thing they introduce. But she is supposed to, all the outer guardians are meant to stay at their post. They're not meant to interact with the other guardians, and they're not meant to leave. But yes, and so at first Sailor Pluto is going to attack them, and then she sees that Chibiusa's with them, and she's like, she knows her, and so she's like, all right, you can go. And so they go to the 30th century moon, and what they find when they get there is everything's in ruin, but they're able to go to the, I forget what it's called, the Crystal Palace or whatever, where, the Queen Serenity would reside. And they meet King Endymion, who is technically still Tuxedo Mask. It's the same guy. And also Neo Queen Serenity is still Usagi, but just way in the future. And they explain that because of the legendary silver crystal, that the reason that they got that from the first season, I don't know if it makes them immortal, but it's like they're virtually immortal. It preserves their life, and so they don't look much older, and they're still alive.
Okay.
Like they look a little older, like a little taller, maybe, I don't know. But Neo Queen Serenity, which is still Usagi, is basically comatose. Ever since the Black Moon people or whatever have been oppressing them, she's kind of been in this state of they can't reach her, but she's still alive.
Okay.
And then we also learn that a small lady
Small lady.
has her own cat, right? So Usagi has Luna,
Mm.
Sailor Venus has Artemis, and in the future, those two have a child of their own, which is Diana, and that's
Oh,
Small
that's right.
Ladies.
That's right.
And then similarly, Small Lady is the child of Usagi and Mamo. So that is their daughter from the future. Which is important to keep in mind in this arc because it gets kind of weird.
Okay.
So after that, I jumped ahead of myself. After that, Usagi is kidnapped by the Black Moon people, and so they're trying to get her back. Meanwhile, Chibiusa, she gets in her own head about being insecure and like feeling bad about going back in time because she wasn't supposed to, yada yada. And so she kind of runs off and ends up getting runs into like where the villains are and ends up, because she's in that state of doubt or whatever, they manipulate her into becoming Black Lady, which they call, which is interesting. Yeah, that they would go with that name.
Yeah.
But she's Black Lady as in evil lady.
Right.
And so she transforms. She's not a kid anymore. She like transforms into like a,
Black lady. Just kidding.
But no, she's like more the age of like Usagi and them, like more middle school age instead of grade school age. And so they use her, to antagonize the other guardians.
Yeah.
But then it builds up to this part where Black Lady, so Mama goes running after her, right, when she's missing, because he has a strong connection to her, and turns out it's his daughter, so it makes sense that he would have this connection. And so he runs after her and finds her, but then she's become so powerful because of the evil guys that she's able to manipulate him, and so he's doing her bidding. And so there's a part where he eventually fights, Usagi and all them. But then there's a lot of questionable like parts of her like making, kissing him and like making out with him, and it's very strange because that's her dad. But she's possessed.
Will be her dad.
That will be. That's her future dad. So I was like, this is like.
In the future he will. Yeah.
Kind of inappropriate.
But
anyway, so essentially, Usagi's able to break free of them, and she saves the other guardians, and then they all regroup and they fight, and they're not able to defeat Black Lady. But then at the last moment, Sailor Pluto shows up. She's not supposed to leave her post, but she does, and she sacrifices herself to, which not only brings Black Lady back to being Chibiusa, but then gives them an opportunity to, attack the main boss. And so once Black Lady is not really, an enemy of theirs, then they're able to fight. And then Neo Queen Serenity like comes out of her coma, and she, I don't know, she doesn't really grant them powers at that time, but she like gives them encouragement, and Chibiusa and Usagi, this is when they joined forces to attack. It's the first time, and we see it again in the movies. But I think it's Double Moon Princess Halation is the attack they used together, which reminded me of Snow Halation with Love Live.
Yeah.
So after they defeat the Black Moon clan, whatever, then Neo Queen Serenity grants them new powers, and so they get boosted. And then there's this whole like feint at the end where they all go back to their time, but then Chibiusa has to say goodbye. She's like, I have to go back to my time. But then, and so they say goodbye, but then she immediately comes back and is like, my mom gave me a letter. It says I can stay here and you can train me to become a proper sailor guardian. That's like, okay. So she's still part of the gang for now. All right. How you doing?
I wonder how the time travel works in this universe. Like, is future Usagi, who is the queen, is she aware of these events that she participated in the past?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know, because you would think
is
that
it sort of a self-fulfilling thing where she gives Chibiusa permission to go back because she remembers Chibiusa having come back with permission, Is it
That
one of
could
those
be.
sort of things, or yeah, I don't know.
Are we having like several timelines split, because
Right.
Chibiusa came back in the first place? And each time she comes back.
Yeah, it just splits another one. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a
It's
good
not. It's probably
question.
not important. I mean, it's definitely not important for
Yeah.
this discussion, but just something that I would have thought about if I were watching this show, probably.
Well, I think then I don't. There's one more arc after the movies, and it seems to. Imagine it's going to incorporate Chibiusa a lot more.
Mm.
And so I imagine maybe if that's the case, it'll play into that. Maybe.
They probably won't explain it.
Yeah. That's I got confused because like first season reincarnation, okay. Second season time travel. I'm like,
Mm.
wow, you already went to time travel. Like if that's usually in like a show or a movie, if that's not the main premise, like that's a much later thing. We get to time travel.
Yeah.
It's usually not the second arc or whatever. But yeah. So any questions on that? Chibi Usa's backstory there.
No, some of the stuff explains stuff that was in the movie that, I mean, I had figured out from context within the movie.
Mm.
But yeah, no
Not
questions
too-
or anything.
Okay.
It fills in a little bit more detail on things that I had an idea of, I guess, about like the reincarnation thing, for example. Like it's sort of indicated in something in the movie that they were reincarnated, basically. And the time travel thing is immediately apparent because one of the first things we see in the movie is Chibi Usa saying that she has to go back to the.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, spoiler alert, in the third season that George is about to talk about, Chibi Usa does not die.
This is true. So this arc is called Season 3 Death Busters.
All right.
And this is where we learn more about the Outer Guardians. We met Sailor Pluto, but then there's also Sailor Uranus and Sailor Neptune.
Uh-huh. I was this one, this division of the solar system sort of didn't really confuse me. I just didn't understand why they did it the way that they did it, because you've got like the inner planets in our solar system that are all rocky based planets, right?
Yeah.
And there's 4 of them, Mercury through Mars. And then you've got the gas giants, which are like the outer planets and stuff, which starts with Jupiter and then works its way out. But Jupiter is not part of the outer guardians. She's
the main one.
But there's also no Sailor Earth. So
yes. Yeah.
I don't know. I guess they had to fill something in. Whatever. It's
There's
again
Sailor Moon, but no Sailor Earth.
yeah.
But I guess Mamo.
And then they've got all the, like, they all have, maybe they get introduced in this story, but they all have like the pet type things or whatever, little animal things or assistants or something, and they're all named after like the moons of those planets.
Oh.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
You mean in the movies?
Yeah.
Those like the Amazon ladies? Is that what you're referring to?
No, because they're asteroids. It's revealed.
Yes. Yeah.
But no, there's like I swear they were like their
Oh, Phobos, Deimos.
Phobos. Yeah.
Oh,
There we
okay,
go. Oh,
these
those are the crows, right? And those are
Ray's
the names
pet
of
crow. Oh, that's right. I forgot about those.
those are the names of moons of Mars, right?
So those are nice.
And then
Xenotime and Zeolite
I don't know about that one.
are knife throwing twins. Yeah, that was kind of new for me. Like the crows, and then the cats turning into people, and then those whatever those other ones are. Forget.
Yeah, and I think that I think one of them had like some other pet thing or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I
you
totally
wouldn't know
forgot
that I had
about
watched the entirety of both of these movies over the last 2 days based on how little I remember. But,
There you go.
3 days, I guess,
We're
actually.
doing our best, people. If we got some Sailor Moon fanatics listening, like, let me know where I'm getting stuff wrong. All right. So season 3, Outer Guardians. Just to sum this one up, I mean, essentially, the Outer Guardians. So there's Sailor Saturn is another one that we're introduced to in this one, and then we eventually learn that the Outer Guardians are tasked in this arc with finding the reincarnated Saturn, because she's sort of a last resort. If she gets involved, and the conditions have to be right. There's these not artifacts, but there's these like special items that, if they're present, will with her, they'll react, and she will basically kill the enemy, but she'll destroy everything. She just like brings complete destruction.
Okay.
And so I guess this happened in the past, and so they're here in their current time to kill her. and they're specifically trying not to arouse suspicion of the main guardians because they know Usagi will try to interfere if she finds out they're trying to kill one of the Sailor Guardians.
Hmm.
But then and then also they're not supposed to interact with them for some reason in general. But what ends up happening is they end up meeting them, and they're very mysterious key characters. So of course they're going to notice them, and they meet them in their unmasked forms, right? Which they don't even wear masks, but one of them's like a race car driver, and the other one's like a master violinist.
Mm.
And so they keep running into them, and so it bubbles up until they find out that they're guardians, and they find out what they're up to. Meanwhile, there's these bad guys, of course, that are the Witches Five, is what they're called. And so it's called, bad guy of the week shows up, and yada yada. But this culminates in them finding out what the Outer Guardians are up to, Usagi not being into it, and then them sort of warring between each other. But then eventually they all joined forces in the end to beat the bad guy. And in doing so, well, along the way, Chibiusa meets this girl who she becomes fond of, and they kind of become friends. Turns out that's the reincarnated Sailor Saturn. So it just makes things even more hard, difficult when they find out they're trying to kill her. And so it all culminates with them joining forces. And yeah, so this is the first time when they're all gathered, and they're kind of down on their luck. They're not doing well fighting, and they all grant Usagi their power. This is the first time this happens. It comes up again in the movies. But yeah, they grant her all this power, and she is able to become Super Sailor Moon. Oh my God. And I will say, like, a large portion of this show is the transformations, and it kind of gets boring. But the first time, whenever there's a new transformation, like the first time you see a new transformation, it's pretty exciting. Like I was into it. Like when you first see Super Sailor Moon, it's pretty awesome. I will say that. And but anyway, so that happens, and she's able to defeat. Well, she doesn't defeat them right away. She kind of has the upper hand, and then she starts to lose again, and then Sailor Moon gets absorbed by the enemy, which the enemy at this point becomes like a planet that's like personified. So it's like this crazy, weird battle. But then Sailor Saturn awakens at this point when everything seems like it's dour. And so she's getting ready and this is a pretty awesome scene too, but like she's like slowly rises up and is about to swing her weapon to just end everything. But then she realizes at the last moment that Sailor Moon is still alive. And so instead she attacks. I don't know why, but it's like you could have just done that from the start and helped us fight. But she does that and attacks the bad person, the bad guy. I think it was like the second in command or whatever. And then after that, Super Sailor Moon and Super Chibi Moon join forces and do their combo attack and save the day.
Double Moon Deathbuster makeup. Just kidding.
Something like that. But yeah, they do that, and after this happens, for some reason, Saturn. I don't know how Saturn works. It's like you do one attack and then you restart. So Saturn becomes like a baby again.
Okay.
And the Outer Guardians are like, "Oh, we'll become a family and raise her. That'll be that's what we'll do." And they decide to do that. Still stay separate from the other Guardians like they're supposed to. And but then they're not at their posts like they're supposed to be.
Yeah, they're all hanging out on Earth too, right?
Yeah, but just not near Usagi and all them. And so that's how this arc ends. They're like, we're gonna raise her. And yeah, so that brings us to the movies. Oh, and the very end of this season, an eclipse is happening, and it's right before Chibi Moon or Chibiusa is going to go back to the 30th century. And so that's where we pick up on the movies.
Sounds like the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've talked long enough. Why don't you tell us about these movies, unless you have other questions or anything?
No questions based on any of that. So yeah, the movie, as you said, starts off with we get kind of a character introduction, a really quick, run through of most of the characters, I think. And they're all going to see this solar eclipse. and Chibi, small lady, is saying that she's going to go back to the future. Um, then she like changes her mind or something, or doesn't want to, and I don't remember why.
Well, she has that. She hears like a bell when the eclipse is happening, and then
Oh, okay.
and
So it's
then
after the eclipse that she changes her mind. Okay.
yeah, and I don't remember the timing, but then she has like a vision about this Pegasus,
Yeah.
Helios.
Helios. Yeah. So they're all watching an eclipse, and then they all see like some weird looking flying airship sort of thing coming from the dark center area of the eclipse. And I don't remember. Do they like announce themselves or something? There's something like that where we know that this is like
Yeah,
Dead Moon Circus is what they're called.
yeah. There's some voiceover, but I don't know if that was just meant for the audience or if they're hearing that. Or yeah, I was confused on that.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. Anyway, and then so the first half of this movie then is just like little 13-second clips of things that happen that I guess need to happen to make the story make sense. And I don't remember all of them and don't really feel like going through them in series or anything. Do you have anything that happened there that was important enough that you want to mention?
Yeah, I mean, they start attacking each. I mean, they go to the circus and they get separated, and they start attacking each guardian separately, which is a
Yeah,
common
that's
thing.
that's pretty much the second half of the movie already.
Yeah, yeah,
By the time we get to that, but yeah,
that's true. Oh yeah, there's the part. I mean, there is one fun part where I forget what happens, but like Usagi and Chibiusa are like in town. It's like daylight, and they're in town, and but then like something happens, and like this, they sent this tiger after them or something.
oh
This
yeah,
tiger shows up, and then that's when they have this body swap thing, which I didn't understand, but for some reason they established earlier on that like Chibiusa wanted to be older, and Usagi wanted to be treated as a kid still and
yeah.
not have to have responsibilities, and so
Yeah, so they're using their own, not weaknesses, but their own whatever
yeah, their
against
own.
them.
Yeah, it's almost like careful what you wish for kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
And so that happens, and I liked it because it's just cute. It's like Sailor Moon being all a kid again, and
yep.
I don't know.
And it lasts for about 13 seconds because then they do their Super Sailor Moon and Super Sailor Chibi Moon transformation, and they go back to normal.
Yeah, and it's all fine. But
And
during
then,
that, Luna is like refers to Chibiusa as small lady,
hmm,
and then she's like, "No, I'm not small." I was like, "Okay, lady, I guess." But yeah, it doesn't really have much impact, but it was cute. And then essentially in this first movie, while they're fighting them, Mamo gets cursed with like a black rose on his
mm,
chest. At first, you think he just has like chest pain and he should get an
some
X-ray.
sort of
And
lung disease or something
yeah,
keeps coughing up these black rose petals.
yeah, like something's wrong with you, dude.
Oh,
And then Usagi tries to help him at his bedside and stuff. And at first he pushes her away, but then she keeps coming back, and then she gets it as well. So they're both sick with black rose lung.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
I mean, we get introduced to the bad guys, I guess, which are the Amazon sisters or something they were called, or
yeah, the Amazoness Quartet I
yeah,
wrote down.
okay,
Yeah, so get introduced to them, and they're all quirky and do circusy things.
mm-hmm. And yeah, so the whole Big Moon or Dead Moon Circus thing is, yeah, just this circus that has set up in town, but there's like a dark cloud over the town or something, and they're all trying to use nightmares against the sailors and I guess everyone else in town or something. I don't know. It all goes by pretty quick.
Yeah, they cram a
Considering,
lot
yeah,
into these movies.
considering it's like a how long? Hour 20, hour 25, something like that
Yeah.
on these movies. So, but yeah, it all flies by pretty quick. And I don't remember. Do you remember what like the cliffhanger ending is? Was there a cliffhanger ending on this?
Um, I
Just the black rose lung thing maybe
I
is the only
guess
thing that
so.
isn't super resolved. And I mean, they don't defeat the bad guys either, so it's all sort of a cliffhanger, I guess.
Yeah, it's just kind of like this is the middle part. But that there is a part where Sailor Venus is fighting them, and then she is about to like they knock her off this ledge or whatever, but then Artemis is there and
Right.
transforms into a human, which is new.
Yeah.
and saves her. So I remember that was kind of near the end, but
Yeah. And I think it's in this movie where so small lady has that bell that she
oh,
got,
from
right?
Helios, yeah.
Yeah,
If you need help, yeah.
he says, "Yeah, ring it if you need help or whatever." And she just like keeps ringing it and summoning him for basically no reason, just because she wants to see him.
Mm,
Um, she seems to sort of have a crush on him.
yeah.
And then I think it's in this movie where he kisses her, right? Like maybe towards the
Maybe.
end, or maybe it's the beginning of the next one.
Yeah, I
Um,
forgot about that.
but yeah, he is a Pegasus, but then he transforms into a human in sort of a dream thing, and then kisses her, and now she's like super in love with him or something.
Yeah.
Um, and he's like older, not in his 20s or anything, but he's like
Yeah,
the
that
same age as all the rest of them. But
seems like it.
they're definitely setting up some sort of, seems like they're setting up some sort of romantic
Yeah.
thing between this 9-year-old and this 14, 15-year-old. Whatever.
Yep. Well, she already
Japan.
made out with her dad, so
Yeah, that's true. I see. I didn't have any of that to look back on. So anyway, yeah. And then the second movie, unless you got anything else you really need to cover in the first.
I think that's about it.
Okay, in the second movie, I guess this is where we see a little bit more of the big bads. I guess.
Yeah. Well, we learn that Helios is being in a cage. He's being held captive by them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we meet, but Queen Nehelenia is the big bad, as you said.
Yeah. We don't see her until later, but there's the one that looks like sort of an old lady with the black robe or whatever.
Oh yeah. I forgot it.
I don't know what
about her.
his or her name is. I'm actually not sure if it's a female or not, but yeah, could be an old man, could be an old lady. It sounds like it's voiced by a man, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I forgot. I didn't write any notes about that.
Okay. So in this, then wait, hold on. In the first movie, don't they all get crystals in the first
Yes,
movie?
yeah.
Okay, yeah, I totally skipped over that. Then.
Well, it was tied to those nightmares. It was like
Yeah.
after they were able to come out of the nightmare, then they got the crystal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's
And then
there's
they
a
could-
Jupiter crystal, there's a Venus crystal,
Yeah.
yada yada.
Then they can transform into Sailor Crystal Jupiter or something.
Yes,
I forget how they say it. It's either
Yeah.
Crystal Sailor Jupiter or Sailor Crystal
Sailor
Jupiter.
Crystal Jupiter.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's
okay.
right.
Anyway, yeah, so they all get crystals. And I don't know.
Well, in this second one, I don't remember how it all plays out, but Helios explains that there's a gold crystal.
Yes.
And we find out that's related to Mamo. And so, much like Usagi had the legendary silver crystal within her, he has this legendary gold crystal within him, presumably. Usagi assumes
Right.
that that's the case, and it turns out to be.
Yeah, which all makes more sense now that you've explained them being reincarnations of, the Prince of Earth and the Princess from the Moon that had fallen in love or whatever, which isn't explained in this, but
Yeah.
I still got the idea that he was the Earth. He had something to do with Earth, and she's obviously Sailor Moon, so
he's kind of like Sailor Earth.
yeah, kind of. But yeah, so she's got the silver and he's got the gold, and so this wasn't this. I guess this was maybe more of a surprise to me, having not seen the series, than it would have been to anyone who saw it and knows all of that. But I thought this was like being revealed for the first time. I
mean,
guess.
the gold crystal thing for sure, and like the whole aspect of like, because we didn't know much about the ongoings of his past and stuff. It was like more focused on the moon and stuff, and he played into it with his relationship with Usagi and all that, or Princess Serenity, excuse me. But yeah, they hadn't really delved into, and they don't go too far into it here, but yeah, we learn that there's this, that place, the Elysion that they go to, seems to be like the equivalent of the moon's, crystal palace.
Right. It's the Earth's palace, kingdom, castle, whatever.
And it exists in a extra dimension. I don't know how to get to it, but they get to it. But then I guess we should set up the you're probably also confused by the Outer Guardians, because I think that's what this movie starts with.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, this movie does start with that, and I was confused for the first I don't know how long it takes, 15, 20 minutes probably, and I was like, "What? Who are these people? What is going on?" And yeah, I had forgotten that I was confused by it because, after they reveal it, it's all like, "Oh, okay. That
Yeah,
makes
now I
sense."
get it. And so yeah, they were raising
Saturn.
a Saturn, and she's been growing exponentially. And yeah, at a certain point, they realize that they gotta go help
Yeah.
fight.
And she's probably like, well, she's bigger than Chibiusa, but she's not as big as Usagi.
Yeah,
So she's got to be in between there somewhere. So maybe 12 or something. I don't know.
it could be. Yeah, she
Um,
seems to have an exponential growth rate.
yeah, and I don't know. And then there's some battle, and then the movie's over.
Yes,
I don't know what else to say about this.
Yeah, I mean, so many of these arcs end in a similar way, where it's like, they finally face off against the main person. This Queen Nehelenia, we learn the backstory that the original Queen Serenity back in the day had, banished her or imprisoned her inside this mirror or something.
Yeah.
And so she was sealed away, and so now she's seeking revenge. So it's like, okay, I have to, pick up mom's messes.
And she had brainwashed the asteroid guardians.
Oh yes, but very similar to the first arc where Queen Beryl brainwashed, the knights of the Earth, reincarnated, the Jadeite and all those guys.
Yeah, yeah.
So kind of repeating that.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I mean the whole finale of the battle is like very similar. Like they're down on their luck. They've been fighting, and it doesn't seem like it's going well. But then Usagi and Mamo kiss. And then instead of like before, they got the silver crystal. Now it's kind of reversing it, where they're getting the gold crystal out of Mamo.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think everyone
and
transforms.
Then everyone has to, everyone. Well, let's see.
Super Sailor.
Everyone transforms. There's like there's a lot of clothing changes here, and there's like, so they're all wearing like their normal clothes, and then when they kiss, suddenly everyone's wearing like formal wear, like evening gowns and stuff. And then they all sort of pledge their power to Sailor Moon, and then they all do Sailor transformation, and then Sailor Moon does her big attack to take out the bad guy, and then they all switch back to the formal wear, and then I think they all go sailors again, and then I don't know.
Imagine if this was a stage play.
I know, right? There'd be a lot of people just running off stage as fast as they could. Nuts. And they have to show all of them. Like I noticed in one of the shots where they were transforming from like the formal wear, evening wear or whatever into the sailors, they start like with this sort of panning shot on one side where we see each person in the frame transform. And as we pan, we see the rest of them transform as well. It's yeah, you have to see every single one of them.
Got it. It's a big part of the transformations are it's a big part of the show.
Yeah. And yeah, so there's like weird mirror stuff and like in the fight.
Yeah.
Where the bad lady sends shards of a mirror at Sailor Moon, or Usagi maybe at the time because she hadn't transformed. I don't remember. But rather than like cutting her to ribbons with these sharp shards of glass, she just builds a sort of castle around her.
Oh yeah.
Not castle,
I was
but like
that too.
a
It's like
cave
a sharp
or something.
shard.
Yeah. And then, she uses her whatever super moon makeup or whatever. And smashes the mirrors, and then Chibiusa and Saturn, who had been missing.
Yeah, they were imprisoned in these
because they had gone chasing off after someone or something. I don't know. Anyway, they were imprisoned in these mirrors, and they sort of drop out of there, and then the other guardians who are outside of the mirror that Usagi had gotten sucked into, I guess they can communicate through this mirror, even though it didn't seem like it before. But Sailor Moon says to them, "Hey, I've got Chibiusa and Saturn, so go ahead and break that mirror now." And they're all like, "Oh, okay." And then they all use, well, not all. I was actually surprised. They didn't all attack the mirror. It was first Mercury, the water one, right? And then Jupiter, and then the mirror broke.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So a whole bunch of other people
took.
didn't do anything, I guess. And yeah. then it all sort of like resolves, I guess, because the big bad lady is defeated when Sailor Moon, Super Crystal, Super Saiyan Sailor Moon, uh, whatever it was, uses her mega attack for this episode, which is let's see if I can remember
I
it.
just pulled it up.
Did you? What's the first word?
Starlight.
Oh, that's right. Starlight, honeymoon. What's the next one? Because it doesn't make sense. In my mind.
Therapy.
Therapy.
Kiss.
Yeah. Starlight, honeymoon, therapy, kiss.
Yes.
That is apparently the name of the attack. Those are the words that she screams as she kills the bad lady.
Well, I forget the order of things, but then also Small Lady realizes that she has her own crystal within her. It's the legendary pink crystal.
Oh yeah, the crystal of the 30th century or something like
Yeah.
that. Because they've got all the other ones who have like their, Jupiter crystal and Mars crystal and Mercury crystal. And then we've got the silver crystal and we've got the gold crystal.
Mm-hmm.
And she has to have her own because it can't be the same as someone else's, I guess.
Yeah, they all have their own crystal. But yeah, I think after she gets that,
but
then
hers isn't a planet or anything. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, okay. But yeah, they do the attack you mentioned, but they do the double version, which is Starlight, honeymoon, double therapy, kiss.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so I forget the order of things, but I think that final one is what beats Queen Nahalania.
Yes, that's probably correct. And then there's a pretty long ending there. Like what happens after that? After she's defeated, then we get
So the Amazon ladies, who we learn are the
right.
sailor guardians of the asteroids.
Yeah, they get rescued after that.
Yeah, and then they say, "Oh, we're gonna go into limbo or something until Chibiusa becomes a full-fledged sailor guardian, and then we will they're connected with her somehow."
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's Helios. I mean, he's freed from his cage.
Yes.
He's a human now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the Amazon people.
I feel like there was just so much more of this ending. Like it seemed to take quite a while.
Yeah.
After the final blow.
I know.
There was all the backstory of I guess that was during the battle or before the battle or something like that. All the backstory of the queen of the moon.
Oh yeah. Which I kind of summed up, but yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that's what I was thinking of. So there was a lot of that.
And then there's a part near the end where Helios and Chibiusa share a moment, and he's going back to Elysion, but it's like we'll meet again because they have a connection, and I'm sure they'll kiss at some point in the future and become more powerful.
Yeah, but they kissed before.
Yeah, they'll kiss again.
Okay. So the more they kiss, the more powerful.
Sailor
I don't
Moon.
know how it works.
The fact that it's called Sailor Moon Crystal is very fitting. There's lots of crystals, but it's like crystals, transformations, and kissing.
Yeah.
That's that kind of sums up most of it.
And Helios.
Small lady.
And small lady.
So, what did you think of the movies? B, what do you think now that you know a little bit more? Weigh in on that.
What did I think of the movies? Well, like I say, the first movie was sort of a clip show of things that they needed to set up before they could have the rest of the story, I guess, even though there's not a whole lot of story to it. Like almost nothing happens in the first movie.
Just introducing bad guys and they're doing bad things.
Yeah, and then they all get their crystals so that they can be more powered up. And then in the second movie, we've got, like you said, the beginning where we see the Outer Guardians and everything, which I don't know that it really needed to be there because they could have just showed up and it would have been fine. But then, like the small battles are just sort of more of the same, right? We've got all of the individual guardians now with their crystal powers trying to fight more to save the planet from Dead Moon Circus. By the way, there's a band called Dead Moon. I'm sure I've played their songs for you before.
Nice.
But I kept thinking of it like every time they said it. One of their songs is called "Dead Moon Night." It's "Dead Moon Night, Dead Moon Night." Anyway, and that kept playing in my head while I was watching this. So maybe I was
Nice.
distracted a little bit. Um, yeah. What did I think of the movies? I thought that they could have been better and more interesting and paced better.
Mm.
Um, but at the same time, like I don't know, this is made for young girls, I assume, right? Like that's
I mean, it's definitely made for a younger audience.
mm,
From what I've heard, a lot of girls and boys alike are into a
mm.
shoujo. Um,
Because I sort of see it as being um, the way that it's written anyway. Seems like the audience is supposed to identify with Chibi Moon. Like she's
mm,
supposed to be like their um, person that they sort of live this vicariously through. They
yeah,
experience this through her, I think. Because it seems to be a lot about her and, her burgeoning relationship with Helios.
yeah. I think you're right, and I think it's setting up the next arc. I don't know what it's about, but I'm
Mm.
assuming it'll be about her, kind of defending the world.
Yeah, maybe.
Um, but I imagine all the other guardians will be there too, because why not?
Yeah. So I didn't realize that there was even another arc after this as well. So
Yeah,
yeah,
one
that
one
sort of
more.
changes it. I don't know. How would I rate this? I
It's
mean,
hard.
it's fine, I guess, but it's also not very good in some ways, and it's cute and not terribly funny, but a little bit funny. And on a scale of tiny lady to large lady, I'd have to give it a small lady.
Excellent, excellent.
No, I mean it's probably just on the verge of 5 or 6. I think I
Yeah.
would probably lean towards the 5.
Mm.
Um, because I can't imagine ever wanting to watch it again.
Yeah. Fair enough, especially coming into it a bit cold as well. But I don't feel too differently. The movies were they did cram too much into
Mm.
there. It was kind of a whirlwind. But I think after having binged the 40 episodes prior to it, I was kind of used to
Mm.
the formula.
Well, how were you like just on the series before you watched the movies? Like, what would you have given the first 3
I probably go
seasons?
6.
Yeah, okay.
Like I liked it, and that's the thing is like I grew up, on shonen battle anime, Dragon Ball Z, of course, and there's so many, and they continue to today, and I'm still into a lot of them. Not all of them, but but with this, it's interesting because there's a lot of similarities. Like there's a lot of battles, there's a lot of powering up, there's a lot of saving people, but it's not about like training and like earning that. It's more about like finding something within yourself, emotional. It's more emotionally driven
I mean,
where
when you talk about battles, though, all I remember is like people being put in bad positions, and then they shout some magic words and fix everything.
yeah, I mean it's not like a drawn out battle in the
Yeah.
sense that you would imagine like a martial
Okay.
arts battle or something.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it is they are fighting. They are like
Yes.
defending someone
True.
and trying to best someone. But the way in which they do it is more coming from a place of an emotional like I don't know, finding something inward versus like, training and
Mm.
mastering your craft
Yeah. That's true. I see what you mean there.
like there's not a lot and so I have to imagine that's a lot of the appeal of it's sort of like True Love's Kiss, plays a lot into this. Like
Yeah. What you were saying about the power inside you or whatever, like they say at the end, like, oh, everyone has a crystal inside them or something like that, right?
yeah.
Yeah. So that's I see what you mean. That is what they're going for. Like
Yeah.
that's what they want the audience to feel is like, oh, everyone has their own special power inside. You just have to find it, and then you can be as
Yes.
awesome as Sailor Moon.
You got to kiss your
Something
true
like that.
love
Yeah.
and then you will be but I did like things I liked like I said before, the first time you see like a new transformation, either for a new character or for a new iteration, a super Sailor Moon or whatever,
Mm.
it's exciting. I was into it. The other umpteen times they show a transformation, and in the show, a lot of those they don't cut short. It's like bad guy, and then like I always imagine like they're like hold on, and they're transforming, and the bad guy is just like arm crossed, like tapping their foot, like, it's almost like how the British fought back in the day,
Mm.
turn based. You gotta wait. You gotta be respectful and
Gotta
wait till
wait your
they're
turn.
wait till they're ready. um, but from what I understand, and so there's a lot of that I like, and then I like some of the characterizations. Like, I didn't really dwell on it much, but in the third season, we're introduced to Sailor Uranus, who is sort of a non-binary character. They think it's a guy, it turns out to
Mm.
be a girl. But I like how they played that. It was, for representation and whatnot.
Mm.
Not that I identify, but I thought it was cool the way they did that. But I'm curious
Yeah,
what.
I was when they first introduced that character, I thought it was a guy, and I thought, that's strange. There's Sailor Guardians are all girls,
Yeah,
and then because they were essentially a family unit, there was like the mom and the dad, and then
the drunk aunt. I don't know.
yeah, whatever Pluto was, right? Yeah, so that's how they sort of introduced it. It was like a standard family unit sort of thing, and then I don't know. I don't know at what point probably the first transformation would have been when I was like, oh, it is a girl then. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So it's an interesting element they have in there. But I'm curious of anyone listening to this who is a big fan of the original anime, because I know that like a lot of the Sailor Moon has been, memed to heck. But there's a lot of like very memeable gifs of Usagi from the original show, just being silly or being, and they cut a lot of that stuff out in this. Like it's very, Sailor Moon Crystal is very streamlined. They're just telling the story, like, cutting all the fat out. But I know a lot of people are very fond of the original anime because it has more of that sitcom-y gag, and a lot of funnier things in it. Like this has some funny moments. Crystal does, but I wonder if fans of that, like if you're listening, it'd be interesting to hear what you think. But if you don't like Crystal that much because of that, maybe, and maybe it was a benefit to the original show. But anyway, yeah, it's hard to say. Like if they make, I mean, I imagine they will make the next arc, the final arc, and I'll watch it because I've watched this much. Like I want to complete it.
Might as well, right?
Yeah, just go for it. I'm happy. I'm happy I went on the Sailor Moon journey. I was expecting to find a little more, honestly, that would explain the phenomenon that it is. I think it's good, and I think it did spawn like an entire genre and movement of. I mean, shoujo
Yeah.
existed before that, but like it definitely was a groundbreakingly popular worldwide phenomenon in it.
Yeah. In watching this, it reminded me of all of those magical girl animes that have come since it, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Since the original, obviously, not since this, since it just came out. But yeah, I mean, it inspired like a whole even subgenre of that. Like
Yeah.
there may have been things before that, but nothing I've heard of.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like this is definitely like the biggest example of that sort of magical girl genre.
So successful, and like something like that you watched recently that you enjoyed on my recommendation was
Madoka.
Madoka Magica, yeah, which is great and wouldn't be possible,
Yeah.
or as impactful if not
Right.
for Sailor Moon.
Yeah, it's definitely like a twist on that genre. And yeah, if not for Sailor Moon, that genre wouldn't have become as popular. Madoka probably wouldn't have been made in, at least not in the way that it was made. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know in what form it would exist, but I guess it's possible it would still be made in some other way.
Something,
Just
yeah.
without the magical girl premise, they'd have to find something else. Yeah, I don't know.
It's interesting. But yeah, so it's I don't know, it's something we probably had to talk about because it's Sailor Moon.
Yeah.
So there you
And
go.
I'm assuming, lots of people probably watched it. There's probably a lot of people out there like me that didn't realize it was part of a series and might have watched it. And, hopefully Georgia's explanation of things that happened in the series clued you in on a few things, as it did with me. Things that I was like, oh, that makes more sense now, sort of stuff. Just a few things, but,
Yeah. It is sort of a simple story, like even though it involves reincarnation and time travel.
Right.
It's
It's told simply.
Yeah.
It's simply told.
It doesn't demand a lot of the viewer, and that can be nice sometimes to have just something light and where they're gonna win, the bad guys are gonna win, or the bad guys, the good guys are gonna win.
I remember thinking at the end of this that it was light, but it wasn't fluffy. It wasn't like, I don't know, like a lot of the slice of life things that I watch, I would describe as fluffy. There's a lot of fluff there. This one was very, I don't know, trimmed down, and it didn't have that fluffiness to it. It was
and they were probably, the pacing doesn't help that. But,
it was very much about just getting through the story almost.
Yeah,
but
like
the
a
story
sprint.
itself was pretty light. So I don't know.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard to say. But yeah, if any Sailor Moon mega fans listening, I'd love for you to tear me apart. I'm sure I mischaracterized lots of things and left a bunch out that's important. But I did my best.
And if you're offended by the mere concept of me watching the movies without having watched the entire series ahead of time, feel free to tear me apart too.
There we go. We deserve it.
Not that I care, but feel free if it makes you feel better. But I think that's all we have to say about these Sailor Moon movies and the entirety of the previous 3 seasons of Sailor Moon Crystal. So we're going to wrap this up with me saying the thing that I usually say. If you want to tear us apart on the internet for saying things that you don't agree with, or, whatever reason, maybe you're just an angry person and you need to, say mean things to other people, feel free. You can find us on all the socials at UmLikeAnime. That's UMLikeAnime. And if you don't want to tear us apart and you actually enjoy the content that we make, then you can find us on all the socials at UmLikeAnime. That's UNM. Just kidding.
It's like you're doing the transformation sequence yet again.
There's actually a YouTuber that I watch that he does this joke where he's like, if you're new here, hi, how's it going? And if you've been here before, hey, how's it going? Nice to see you again. You see that? You get 2 greetings if you subscribe or something. I wish I remembered his name. Someone out there knows who it is. You can post it on YouTube for me.
Nice.
Anyway, I thought that was funny. I thought it would be funny to do something similar to that. And that's where I was coming from. But we've talked long enough about this and that and the other stuff. So, bye guys.
Groovy.
What is his name? Curtis. His name is Curtis. I remembered.
I'll just be there.
Just right on the end. Small lady.